Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook. I'm here in the alternative studio space today because I wanted to talk to you about Tales of the Jedi. Now, the other day I did a video about the premiere episode, but I have had a chance to see the rest of them, and I wanted to come on and talk about those as well. So, I do want to say that I was a big fan of the Clone Wars animated series, which I think I said in the last video on this show, but I was looking forward to this ever since I learned about it because I really liked the Clone Wars, and it's done in the style of the Clone Wars. So I'm very glad that they made this. It was not a disappointment at all. I very much enjoyed it, although I thought it was a little bit wonky. So let me see if I can explain. The episode names, by the way, were Justice, Choices, The Sith Lord, Practice Makes Perfect, and Resolve. And I'm not really going to break them down individually because they were very short. And basically there's one through line through the whole 6 things once you get past the premiere episode, which is the birth of Ahsoka. And it chronicles some of the life of Count Dooku and Qui-Gon Jinn and Mace Windu and Anakin and the characters from Clone Wars that we didn't see in the films or in the Clone Wars. So you get to actually see a depiction of where Count Dooku went wrong and what sort of led him down that path. I mean, we know that he was tempted by Darth Sidious, who became Emperor Palpatine, and there's a scene with Darth Sidious in one of the episodes. And I thought that was cool because, you know, we understand from the films and from the Clone Wars cartoon that he was once a Jedi who turned against the Order. And we didn't really know why or how it happened. And we don't know all the reasons now, but we got a glimpse into it. We got a glimpse into why he became disillusioned with, the Jedi Order and the Council and all of that stuff. And it looks like it has a lot to do with the fact that he felt like the Jedi sat on their hands when they should have acted. And we know that that's something that led Anakin towards the dark side. He was more impulsive than, for example, Qui-Gon or Obi-Wan, and just wanted to get things done. And we see how it cost him not only ultimately his life as a Jedi, where he turned to the dark side, but along the way he got hurt and so forth. So we kind of see a similar thing here with Dooku. We see that he gets disillusioned with what's going on, and he's tempted by Darth Sidious, the dark side, and he switches sides. And the interesting thing about it is that, Anakin wasn't always wrong. And Dooku here isn't entirely wrong insofar as his frustration is understandable, and the sort of slow and steady approach of the Jedi and whatnot may not have always been the exactly correct approach. So you can see where some people who are not inclined to play the long game might get frustrated. And if acting more quickly is what puts them at odds with the powers that be, then that's what they're going to do. Even if it means killing, which Dooku does. He kills Yaddle. But I thought the scenes where he's explaining, not so much explaining, but where he's voicing disillusionment were really good. There's especially a scene where he's in front of a tree in the Jedi Temple, and he's talking with Yaddle, and you can tell that he's pained. And, at a crossroads, and regretting that he has to do things that he never thought he would do in order to do what he feels is the right thing. And so the imagery in that scene is fantastic. The score in this whole thing is fantastic. It really helps you feel like this foreboding and this sort of heaviness that, the characters are feeling. So I thought that was really excellent. On the other hand, I thought some of the little, because they're very short, I thought some of the little episodes were kind of dumb. Like, Practice Makes Perfect shows, Anakin putting Ahsoka through her paces in some tests that he designed because he felt that the tests that the Jedi were giving her were not really preparing her for every situation. And it was cool and everything, and she does some really cool moves, and it's exciting in those couple of minutes, and very badass, but, ultimately it was kind of a, blah episode. I didn't think it needed to be made. The only thing about that episode is that in the end you get a quick flash of what you could kind of consider a deleted scene from the Clone Wars, where she's about to face quote-unquote justice for the crime that she was convicted of that she didn't actually commit. And I thought that was cool. But again, it was just a moment in that whole 10 or 12 or whatever minutes long episode, and I didn't think that was particularly worthwhile. Something else that I didn't like is that it kind of jumped time without telling you, at least not that I saw. Like, there's, and it wasn't always, it was kind of handled weirdly. Like, the second episode shows, might have been the third episode. Anyway, there's one episode where Dooku goes to a planet with a young Qui-Gon and handles the situation, and it's the first kind of sign that you see from him that he's not right in the head, or not right with, the Jedi. And then the next time you see him, you again see Qui-Gon, voiced by Liam Neeson, which is super cool, but he's the Qui-Gon from The Phantom Menace. It's a sort of an interlude during the events of The Phantom Menace that weren't in the film, but Dooku doesn't age. His beard is the same color, even though it was gray. It's brown, and even though it was gray in The Phantom Menace. So I didn't understand that. That was a little wonky, like, why did they mess that up? And then right after that scene is the scene where he's in front of the tree, and Qui-Gon is already dead. Like, he just saw him 2 seconds ago, and then the next scene, he's dead. So in between those scenes is when he went and got killed by Darth Maul. But you don't know that at first. It's like, what funeral? Whose funeral? They're talking about a funeral. Like, what? It jumped ahead in a scene, and I didn't get that. I might have missed something, but I don't know. And before he encounters Qui-Gon in that episode, by the way, you see him deleting all the information from the Jedi archive on Kamino, on the planet Kamino, so that there's no record of the planet at all, which, again, wasn't in the movies, and so that sort of fills that in. But hands down, the best episode in this series was episode 6, Resolve. And it only surpasses the first episode by a little bit, but it was definitely the best episode of the series. And it's adapted from, I guess, one of the novels. And there's a little controversy about that, actually, but it was adapted from a novel. And it tells the story of, where was Ahsoka, part of the story anyway, of where was Ahsoka between the time she flees at the end of Clone Wars and, I guess in this case, the next time we see her. And she went to a planet where she was working on a farm under an assumed name, and she saves this one woman's life. And then she goes off with the woman on a delivery of some farm product, I guess straw or hay. And when she comes back, she finds the Grand Inquisitor there. And he's burned the whole place down, and he's got her friends tied up, and he's going to kill them. And she tries to pretend like... Actually, she doesn't. By that time, she's like, okay, screw it. He obviously knows I'm here because one of her coworkers turned her in because he saw how she saved the woman. And she battles him and ultimately kills him. But it was just such a great scene. Again, the score was amazing. The animation is fantastic. The cinematography of it is great. The Grand Inquisitor is truly frightening, the way they handle him. The way he handles his lightsaber, and the way that she kills him is amazing. And it's just a fantastic episode. It gave me chills. It really did. I'm a huge fan of Ahsoka, and so I really loved this episode as much as the first one, but actually a little bit more. It was a little bit better because of the darkness of it and the danger of it, and just a fantastic episode. So I really did like the series. I thought it was a little uneven, a little wonky. The animation was fantastic. The voice work was fantastic. And, a couple of the episodes really, really shined. So I'm hoping they do more. I'd like to see more of these. That would be really cool. I do want to address the controversy very quickly. Apparently in this novel in question, there are some moments wherein it would seem that Ahsoka is LGBTQ, but it's not really said in the novel. It's just that it kind of seems like it, and then the author said, yeah, she liked this other girl in some comments that she makes. But that to me doesn't solidify that she's LGBTQ, and so the fact that she doesn't get presented that way in this story isn't a big deal. But the LGBTQ community is up in arms because they're saying they erased a queer character. I don't see it that way. So that's just my 2 cents. But yeah, that's my review of Tales of the Jedi. I'll be back soon. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.